kan buat tu, ya.
That's,
Sama je macam
I call it
asli.
sistem tagal. You want to
Tagal
catch,
kan? Ya, ya.
you kena bayar denda.
Tagal is communal catching.
Yeah,
And you only catch during one season je.
yep.
So that ikan akan besar. Kalau you tangkap awal-awal, mana nak ada ikan esok?
Alright, so we are live. Shall we start?
Right?
Okay, so here we are again. It's a slot for men's brief. Again, why are we talking about men's undergarment? It's nothing about Ilyas or Omar's unmentionable. The series will talk about matters that are not usually discussed or openly talk about men's issues or challenges. And welcome everyone to Point of View series. Today is our 29th episode. And the Point of View series is basically a live online talk show where we invite guests to share their knowledge, experiences, their wisdom, and perspective to our audience. And I would like to also reiterate the purpose of Point of View series. This Point of View series is basically to enlighten each other and hopefully along the lines of getting the light bulb moment that perhaps we all could act upon for the betterment of ourselves and also others surrounding us. The big picture thinking around the men's brief sessions are we would like to convey the idea around insight on how men might think, and therefore we women will know how to understand our men better. And also the session is to convey some form of messages on to all men out there that if you are facing men's issue at this point of time, rest assured, or rather, this is giving you a confidence that you're not alone, and there are others who might be facing the same issues. So, yeah, let me introduce myself. My name is Jacqueline Joannes. I'll be hosting the session, but I'm not the only host. As usual, as you can see on the screen, my friend, good friend, Sheikh Omar, to also host the session. And here with us today, we have, okay, no more new face. This is his second time. Yeah. We are honored to have you once again, Ilyas. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to have agreed to this 1 hour of your precious Monday. And although you are actually on your way to a meeting place, but you committed to the program. Thank you so much.
Welcome, no worries.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for your support. And to our live viewers in particular, thank you for dropping by. We hope that however long that you decide to be with us, you'll gain something out of this. And talking about gaining in this context is really around learning something out of our sharing. And I believe it will work in two ways, apart from watching us or listening to us passively. It will be much more impactful if you can be part of the discussion. And how can you do that is by asking us questions, and you can also type in your perspective or comments, and I will acknowledge that from the comment sections on my Facebook. All right. Okay. Another part of that is you can do that during live or later, in case you are watching this on live recording. Live recording, or later. I mean, because this recording will be on my Facebook wall until the Facebook decide not to. And to introduce about us slightly further, Omar, Ilyas, and I are corporate trainers. We are also coaches, mentors, and or speakers in our own specialization. So let's hear from each one of us about your specific area. So let's start with Omar.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Omar, and I help people develop confidence with communication and having conversations. And I also help people articulate their ideas better. So essentially, that's what I do. I'm also a coach, and I love working with people. And I hope you enjoy the show. Over to you, Ilyas.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Ilyas Yusha. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, So I do a lot of entrepreneurship coaching and programs, and I also coach in the areas of personal effectiveness and peak performance. Yeah. All right, that's it.
All right, nice.
Jacqueline.
Thank you, Elias. And as for me, profession-wise, for 13 years, I was with Learning and Development Unit in a few companies that includes MSc status company and a few multinational companies. I left my 9 to 5 job and embarked into 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. job in 2013. That's already almost 7 years. And I founded a company called Professional Advancements Resources and an academy called Asia Image Development Academy. My area of focus at this point of time is image consultancy and personal and professional growth and development. 70% of my business comes from corporate trainings, and the rest is on one-on-one mentoring and coaching. All right, so in this 29th episode, we are going to talk about a very interesting issue or challenges rather, or rather questions about who wears the pants in the family and in the household. To continue on, I shall pass to Omar. Omar?
Yeah. Okay, all right. So who wears the pants in the house? And this expression usually means who's the boss, right? Who's the boss in the house? And we always talk about men being the head of the family, but we all know, and it's undeniable that most of the time it's the women or the mother or the wife who runs the show, right? She knows everything that's in the house. In fact, I was just watching Chris Rock. Chris Rock is an American comedian, and he was saying the same thing. We all know who's running the show, right? He says, for men out there, try this. He says, try this. You go home and try. He said, just try to hang up a picture of your mother in the living room. You know, put the picture up and try to hang it on the nail. You see what happens. You know, the first thing she's going to say is, I don't like the frame. You know, you got to watch this. It's so funny, you know. So there's a subtle way of saying, wait a minute, did you get my permission first? You know. So, but a lot of men are actually cool with that. I mean, I for one, I'm going to this time around, Jack, I'm going to try to be as personable and as vulnerable as I can. But I for one, I'm okay with a woman running the house. It's not a problem. Right? When I was married, she takes care of most of everything. And, you know, where things are, who does what, who goes where things go, all kinds of stuff. And I'm actually okay with that. But there are areas that I would not want her to make decisions on without me being involved. So we're going to get into some of these issues as we go along. But this session really is to help you understand, to get some insight, at least from two men here, Elias and myself, how we think about women running the household, right? Who wears the pants? For some people, the women, actually they look after the money, they make all the decisions. And how do men feel about that? Some men are okay with it. Some men are actually are not okay with it, you know? Like for me, it depends on the areas. What about you, Elias? You're married right now. Who has the pants?
I do. Okay. So, but that's an interesting question. What are the signs that, you know, actually says that, you know, because you do this, you wear the pants? What does wearing the pants signify? Do you people who make decisions, people who bring in the money, what, you know?
Yeah.
So I think we gotta go there first, define what wearing the pants means, or, you know, how do we identify, you know, who's in control?
I like that question, Elias. Why? Because in the very beginning, when Omar gave me this question, I was thinking, how do you define a real pants wearer?
Correct.
So I was thinking, first thing came to mind, who brings more money?
Yeah. So for a lot of households, It's who bring in the dough, who puts the food on the table, right?
Yes.
So that is wearing the pants. It's not wrong, but it is quite true. But you know, it can also be who makes the decisions. You know,
Mm-hmm.
for some people, for some husband, they can't make the decisions without a yes from the wife. So that's the question. The question still, pops up. So who's actually wearing the pants? You know, should we
Yeah.
just ask your wife instead of you?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So I think, like what Omar said, areas of control, right? So I think naturally, women has a natural area of control, and this, but because
Really?
yeah, because they have superhuman abilities of multitasking. So it's it's tough managing a household,
Yeah.
and I salute to all women out there who's managing households. I mean, it's amazing. It's an amazing work on its own. So yeah, I think like for me, uh, in the areas of in the house, right? So my wife can make any decision she wants. I really, totally give that space for her.
Wow.
Uh,
Aha. So there you go. So you allow it. So are you saying
yeah,
that
yeah,
you
yeah. I allow it means that I don't digress. I don't go into argument. I don't ask anything. So that is for her to make decisions. This is her space. Sebab tu dia panggil lady of the house, I think. You know.
If it's
So
important decision, do you discuss or rather not discuss? Perhaps you are discussing, but do you have the first inclination to like kind of like getting validation from youth?
it depends. I think for decisions that affects everybody else, means in our little family it affects you or our parents, then I would discuss first lah.
Mm.
But if it's just me, my own stuff, my business, things like that, I'll decide lah. But I also share the rafting business with you, so sometimes when I do make decisions on my own, I can see it creates friction in my wife's eyes. Kind so I say, okay, you know what? Next time, I don't need to. So I realize sometimes I don't need to discuss. I just need to let her know.
I see.
Yeah.
I think what she appreciates is me letting her know, not just making decisions and what tak tahu.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree about, well, I wouldn't want to use the word allow because it seems to suggest that you're still in charge. So I'm like this. I'm the kind of guy who I don't want to be in charge. At the same time, I don't want my wife to be in charge. Right? It's a sharing of a relationship or partnership. So what that means is that we also come to a mutual understanding of what we prefer to be in control of, unless the other person opposes it ataupun has a strong input. So here's what I mean. So if my wife takes over the kitchen, I'm fine with it. If I'm taking over maintenance of the car, she's okay with it. So these are areas where we naturally prefer or don't prefer, right? But like you, there are areas that you need to have discretion. Hey, if I do this, it's going to affect my wife. I got to share it. I got to share it with her, So it's really not about wearing pants, who wears the pants. It's more about a mutual interaction, mutual understanding of who wants to do what, So for instance, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, so for instance, I'm soon after I got married, I actually left my corporate job. I had a long career in IT, and soon after we got married, I left to do my own business, and I was one of those entrepreneur wannabes. But to be honest, I didn't have the right mindset, so it was a big struggle. But I never sought her permission, and I made the decision on my own, and I think that was unfair. It was unfair to her and to the family because we should have discussed it at length. So it's not about control is about being sensitive to whatever you do, will it affect the relationship?
Yeah.
You know, so that's one of the areas that I guess I fumbled.
Yeah, I guess it is. Sorry, Jacqueline, go ahead.
Yeah. No, you go ahead. Yes.
No, I think you're spot on. It's more of areas of impact.
Yeah.
If it doesn't impact everyone else in your house, you kind of make a decision. But when it does, um, it's more for me. I like to avoid friction. I don't like friction so much. And we can talk why we need friction, right? So if there's areas of impact, I just talk. Is I just talk with my wife because that's the only other impact I have, right? My wife and my family. So yeah.
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah, as I was listening, well, as you were explaining around how do you manage this between you and your wife or ex-wife, perhaps it's also because both of you are pretty much in the mindset of this, how to say, personal growth mindset.
Yeah.
You are pretty much covered in that sense
Yeah.
because you are a person that trying to understand from a different angle. But what if men that, out there are men that they are pretty much in a frame of thinking of, I'm a man, so therefore I have to lead. And
Great. You know what? If you come from I'm a man and I need to lead, then you got to step up and become a leader.
But what if the wife is also having the same inclination of
Then they
dominating?
need to have a conversation. I think it boils down to that. For me, pun earlier on, it was, we kind of left it to our own knee. It's like naturally who decides about what, right? But I don't think that I mean, it works to a certain extent when our lives is pretty simple. But life, modern life gets complicated. There's so many decisions to be made every day. We're just decision making machines, kan? I think the bila time area ni you kena bincang lah. You need to talk about it lah. You
So,
know.
Communication. Yes.
Yeah.
Elias, let me put you in a spot. Well, if you don't
Okay.
mind, can you think of a situation where your wife took the lead without checking with you?
Yeah. Earlier on in our marriage, right? I didn't have as many work, right? As I used to, but my wife was working. She was in an architect firm. She was an architect, kan? So she was the main breadwinner lah. And after a few months, right, I can feel there's cracks here and there lah in my communication lah. I get easily agitated. I get apa tu? Stress. I was easily stressed up. And I think she experienced that as well. Okay. And then what she did was, so it was brilliant of her. When she get her gaji, right, she just gave it all to me to manage
After
it.
realizing that, after she realized that you are.
Yeah, that my communication is cracking lah. I know it's training. The relationship has cracked here and there, kan?
Yeah.
So macam dia pun pelik kenapa dia sebelum ni okay je. So and I also realized that my I would say self-esteem, or confidence was really tied up to how much I earn. So as much as I don't want that, it was happening. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't like to tie my self-esteem and confidence to how much I earn, right? But it's happening. It's a feeling that happens, Can you when you not earning, when I'm not earning as much and I'm not working as hard, you stay idle and you start have questions macam-macam lah. You question yourself, you go down the rabbit hole. sometimes you don't go out, you know. So yeah, so it's imperative that I mean, I'm glad that I had some awareness about around it though, when it happened.
So what did you do? I mean, when you had that, when you were in that situation, what did you do? Did you talk with her?
No, we didn't. When she decided to pass her gaji to me, right, to manage everything, because of course her gaji alone couldn't cover all of our expenses. But she gave it, and then dia macam biar je lah. So I manage everything lah with whatever that I have. So we didn't really talk about it, but sometimes throughout relationship bila I stress sangat, dia kata, "You ni kenapa ni? Tak ada duit eh?"
Very understanding.
You ni kenapa? Tengah tak ada duit eh? You stress macam ni kan? Macam like, so when she says that, I'll catch myself lah. Then I go out there, I go again. I'm tying my self-esteem and confidence to how much I'm earning. And I guess I can't run away from that,
Yeah, this is a very good sharing from you, a revelation, basically, because not many want to say this, but it's also a realization for me as a female. Although I don't have a husband, but it's a reminder for me that actually how much you earn, that has got a very close relation to your self-esteem, and that's not about, don't say about taking care of the family if you yourself, you are not feeling well internally, and that has got very close relation with how much you bring to the family. Honestly, I didn't know that. I really didn't know that. And well, I had a 15 years relationship before, so my coming from was always around, it's a reflection now that as a man you have to bring something more to the relationship, right?
Yeah, because traditionally we are the hunters, kan? We hunt food and we put food on the table. That's where we derive our position in our society. Yeah, yeah.
This is a powerful sharing. I think for all ladies out there, I think when your man is facing these circumstances, they are not well articulated as Ilyas, because they are from a different mindset, and they might have their own principle not to say this, or else they will be like laying their their weaknesses on the table. So they don't want to do that. But by learning this from a man like Ilyas, I think ladies, let's also support our men to not putting on a lot of other pressures as well. Unnecessary pressure. It can be, pressure in sometimes. Well, I'm reflecting on myself. You put that pressure in the form of words, without you, because out of frustration, for example. So perhaps it will be much more manageable if we can be more understanding in this sense, because that's really closely related to their self-esteem. I mean, men's self-esteem. Omar?
Yeah, our ego is a bit fragile, kan? Omar,
yeah, it is. Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah, for a lot of men, in fact, probably for most men, because by nature we are supposed to be the provider. And so our self-esteem is very tightly linked to being able to provide. And if that is under threat or that is inadequate, then our self-esteem drops. And the problem is that when that happens, who do you talk to? Jack, if I remember in the last episode, you actually used the words to the effect of you need to look up to a man. You need to respect a man. You need to be able to look up. Yes, you use the word look up to a man.
Okay.
You see, so this is the kind of languaging or concepts that is in a man's head as well. So if I had a wife who has a need to look up to the man, it's a lot of pressure for me. So what if I'm doing a business and I can't bring home bring home the food? She's not going to be able to look up to me. So if that's in my head, she's going to be the last person that I talk to. I would not want to let her know that I'm in trouble. So this is some of the problems that men have where they're not talking, they're not revealing what are the issues, because they have a certain idea that women have certain expectations, and the expectations that it could be too high for them. Yeah. So for men, like Ilyas is saying, the ego is very fragile, but I don't know what you want to call it ego. Because like if I want to reflect on myself, when I left corporate and I was doing my own business and it wasn't happening. So my wife, from someone who was not earning as much as me, right? So this is me, this is her, and then suddenly when I was doing my business, I'm down to here, and she's practically paying all the bills. It's such a, the Malay word is tak tahu kat mana nak tahu muka, and you don't know how to speak to her, and when that happens, the more decisions she makes, at least for me, the more I'm afraid to say to go against it, even if I oppose it, because I'm like, who am I to oppose it? He's paying all the bills, So then the pressure builds up. She may not even know this, but in me, yeah, the pressure is building up, because now suddenly, not only was I not providing, I was also not able to stake my claim or oppose or make decisions, because I placed that on myself.
So if you were to go back to that situation to improve, what do you think that can be improved? So that perhaps, yeah.
Well, first of all, like I said, I would have discussed it with her, discussed what I wanted to do with her, right? But even then, because she's also not entrepreneurial, so even if she had said okay, and then I run into trouble, I would not go back to her, because I wouldn't want her to think of me as any less, right? So this is where I'm saying that there's a lot of men out there who are like this. When I was on my own at that time, there were a lot of my friends were also in the same situation, and a number of them lost their wives because, I didn't lose my wife because of this. She was very supportive, to tell you the truth. But a lot of my friends, they lost their wives because they couldn't provide. But I don't think it's solely that. I just think that because they couldn't provide, then there's a disconnect. Like what Ilyas was saying, there are cracks in the relationship. But for Ilyas and you, perhaps they were able to talk it out. But for a lot of men, they're not. And then one thing would lead to another. And then they get deeper and deeper. The cracks will get wider and wider, or deeper and deeper, until they are quite apart. So that's the problem. I think that's the problem. So if I were to do it over again, I would probably seek help from if there are counselors out there or wiser people out there, or maybe even my in-laws. I could have gone to see them and talk to them, because when you have older people who've gone through a marriage cycle and that's lasted, they understand these things, right? So like for me right now, at my age and my experience, if a young couple comes to me, or a young man comes to me, a married man comes to me, and he's telling me these problems, I would probably be in a position to support him. To support him, because a lot of men fight their own battles alone. They don't talk about it,
right,
for various reasons.
Taking from that point, Omar, and also Ilyas, this is a question for both of you, because this thing is real. What is happening around you men is real. It's happening, right? What will be the extreme consequences of this in around family values, for example? You being not able to again
Provide.
But not able to function as how you perceive that you should be, because these are all your perception, right? Although nowadays we've been hearing, there's not supposed this, we are not supposed to even differentiate ourselves. We supposed to play the same role in the family, regardless your gender or whether you're the wife or your husband. But it's not really happening, actually. Most time it's not happening. So what will be the extreme effect or rather consequences on this?
Yeah.
You mentioned about family split.
Yeah.
What else?
I mean, divorce is real, right?
Yeah, it's real. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, you know, if you have someone like you who comes to you and say, "Kenapa ni tak ada duit ke?" You know, that's great because she's able to bring up something that he's not able to bring up. But that's it. That's the core of the problem.
Because
You know,
Yus is a very easygoing person, right, Ilyas? She is like very understanding and easygoing. But some women, they are very into like, hey, you are man, you know, you have to.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you pun still ada some old school values lah when it comes to around family. So she believes that a man should lead and a woman's place is right beside her husband. But it's also important for the husband. It's actually important for the husband sebenarnya to know that your wife is right there beside you. You know, and I realize when I share with her that when I'm stuck on something and I don't know. See, for men to say I don't know is tough lah. You know, kan, especially like if you like me and you, kan, we've got like an 8-year difference, kan. But when I say I don't know, right, I think it creates a lot more empathy. I'm not going for sympathy, but she understands more. She become a bit more understanding, and then she said, you know what, let's just try that. You know, habis kuat tak jadi, and that's it. You know, kita tak ada duit kan. So apa yang boleh jadi teruk lagi pada ni? So you know, we go down that route, and you know, so knowing that you know what's the worst can happen helps both of us go through tough times lah. And masa when we got married pun, we didn't have a lot of money pun, so that really kind of train us, you know, not to crack so much when it comes to money because money is a big issue. We saw around us that money creates arguments. And all family arguments are all when I really look at it, right, the root cause is not having money or how this scarce resource is spent, you know. Can I'm saying? Kan, so we both early on we've decided that money shouldn't be an issue for us. And we would work towards making it not an issue lah. So number one, we wouldn't fight about it, but we will talk about it. Banyak orang don't talk about it but fight over it. So we don't fight over it but we talk about it. Itu je beza dia. And then and we share the same goals lah. We are aligned. We basically aligned. Okay, we understand having more money is a lot more fun. So let's just have more money. You know. So okay lah. So that's how we kind of manage it lah. Kalau tak susah.
Yeah. Thinking about money, right? You know, as you were explaining about the lack of money, I think it's also the same for those who have like more of that, like overflown of money. They might be having a different issue, but also still revolves around money.
Yeah. You know, when you think about it, right, it's not worth it fighting over money, though. You know. Fight over something else that's worth fighting for, you're gonna fight.
Start with that, I guess, and then it will, seep through into many angles of dissatisfaction or frustration.
Correct. So when she was earning, right, I realized one more thing that I want to share, because I hope if someone is in the same situation, they can recognize this. The moment I start, the one of the major cracks I think is when I feel that she's not listening to me. She's not listening, and then she's earning more. So dalam otak I, you know what's happening? Kau tak dengar, kau sekarang dah besar kepala, kau tak dengar, kau dah banyak duit, kau tak dengar cakap aku, dia macam tu. So that is the conversation, that's happening in the head. So if you catch yourself that and stop, take a, I don't know, breathe and ask the question, is that true or not? Because most of the time it's not true.
Yeah, what do you suggest? Say that, have a discussion around it. But again, it depends on that women also, kan? Kalau dia open, then
at the end of the day, it goes back to values. You know, like for instance, what was the you go way back? What was the reason for getting married in the first place? All right. So for a lot of women, okay, I'm generalizing. I take that back. For some women, they get married because they want to be provided for. So they have this expectation, right? They have this expectation that, okay, I'm going to marry this guy and he's going to provide for me. I mean, I've spoken with numerous women, and that tends to be the general sentiment. Nothing wrong with that, because it's just the nature of things. Because she just wants to handle the family and the man provide. That's it. Now, at the same time, what if the guy runs into trouble? This is where values come in. Are you going to support your guy, or are you going to demean him and say, this guy is useless? You know, so you can go either way. So like in Yusuf's case, she's very supportive. So Alhamdulillah, that's fantastic. I mean, a married man can ask for nothing more than that, right, Ilyas? I'm sure, right? Your wife being by your side, having your back is heaven on earth. But if the wife has starts having a lower image of you, just like that's why I was saying, when a woman says, "Oh, I need to look up to a man," that's a lot of pressure right there, right there, because we are normal human beings as well. We also don't know, you know. We also get tired, we falter, we screw up, and then but you need to be looked up to. So it's a tough call, right? And that's why when Ilyas was saying that when Yus was not listening to him, he starts to think, "Oh, God, I'm besar kepala," which is how I felt. But you know, just those kind of feelings. If I let her know this weakness, she's gonna look at me less, right? And then if I tell her, "No, I don't want that, I want this instead," and then she'll look at you and you're thinking, well, she's probably not respecting you now, because who am I? I didn't bring in the money last month, you know? So you have all these issues. So back to your question, Jack. So what do you do now? And so number one, you got to look at your values, especially for the women. In this case, the women need to look at the values. What values do I bring to this marriage? Am I going to support this guy or not? You know? And for the guy, I think he needs to be able to talk about it. If he's not ready to talk to the wife, find another guy. Find an older person, a more experienced person to talk to. Yeah.
So the problem here is really about men. You are not, it's difficult for you to
talk. Yeah. Well, for those reasons, you know.
Just talk cock and sing song.
Yeah, sing song. Easier to talk cock and sing song. Because revealing your weakness to another man is like calling, you know, now you are the weak among them, among us, you know. So I'm like, so yeah, I've never had.
That's the key that you have to overcome. Then, if you are well, I mean, you don't simply talk to anyone, like Omar said, but you know, if you can overcome that feeling, or rather that I'm gonna use the word ego, to unzip yourself, then probably it will help you in at least your psychological level, at least, and so that you can think straight. If I can say that.
Yeah. If you think about it, right, when man doesn't wear the pants, it's usually because he doesn't bring in the dough, right? Kan. So actually, the advice that you need to go and seek out is how to bring in more dough, right? So just Nila.
But
But what if, like okay, taking from that point, right? What if that man has got physical limitation? I mean, like health-wise.
Okay.
Yeah, something that unexpected, and yeah.
Then having a supportive wife is the greatest blessing on earth.
So you, as a man, what should you do? What would you
pray?
You pray lah. Then we realize we are never in control in this world lah. Itu saja.
Yeah, and I think the woman needs to also realize that a man is just another human being.
Yeah.
who is vulnerable, who's also weak, and everything else, just like her.
That's very important because, like for me, as I was growing up, men in my family uh, are those people that I look up to. So I grew up in that kind of thinking. So when I was in a relationship, so that was the thinking around it. So when you asked me last week, that was my answer. Like a
Yeah,
father figure. You know.
Yeah, I mean, if that is important for you, then you might as well look for someone who you can look up to
yeah,
be with.
But it's also dangerous for me because if something unexpected were to happen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I will have that thinking around, oh, now you can't function as how you are supposed to be. So I shouldn't be having
So,
those. So
so
I'm,
maybe the better question is this though. So, what makes you look up to him? What about him that makes you look up to him? If it's just money, then realize that it's just a tool. You know,
mm,
I have someone say a fool with a tool is still a fool. And
yeah,
so yeah, if you look up to him because he never, because he has vision, he has me, he has that, then one day when he has when he has challenges, physical limitations, it's still okay by you because nothing has changed other than physical limitations, right?
right. So from this point, Omar, maybe you mentioned about the
yeah.
statistics, right? The
Right.
extreme.
Yeah. So on the extreme side, we do get into situations where the man or the woman wears the pants. I mean, she's really in charge. And I was just looking out Google the other day, and there was this article written by a woman, and it was about some of the signs that shows that the woman is in charge. So some of them were things like she is the focal point in the family. Not even the focal point. She has the last say, the first say and the last say. He has to follow what she says. I mean, these are obvious signs. She makes more money, or he gives her all his money, and then hopes that he gets something back. So you know that she's in charge, right? His friends are secondary. Her friends are first. She's in charge. Now the thing is this: there are situations where men get into a position where they are so what's the word for it? Non-aggressive. Some men are just non-aggressive, but they match up with a woman who are aggressive, and in extreme cases, they actually get physically abused. They get abused, just like a husband abuses a wife physically, slapping her around and things like that. That happens for men too. And according to reports, most men don't report it because of like self-esteem, confidence, shame. They don't report it. To be called someone who is queen controlled, or the wife in Young, the boss and all of that stuff is a big stigma. You don't want to be called that. That's one of the worst insults. So a lot of cases go unreported. I was just looking at some statistics from January 2017 to June 2018. I don't have the later ones. And apparently, I'm quite surprised as well that there were only 1,000, just over 1,000, 1,037 domestic violence cases in Malaysia, reported cases, okay? But we know that there's more than that. I mean, they know that there's more than that. It's just that reported cases are only 1,037. In fact, during this MCO period, the numbers have gone up. Now, out of the 1,000 cases, 1,037 cases, 56 cases are men being physically abused. So if you look at the website of Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat, they have pictures of men getting beat up. Some of them have bandaged arms, and this happens. And I have seen videos that I think are not fake because it's being captured by some third party somewhere, where the girl is beating up the man. And generally, this doesn't happen. So there are cases like this. And in these, you see, the thing is this: when I look up all these ministries, right, ministries of family affairs or whatever you call them, there's a lot of avenue for women to call for help. You know, women's aid organization, befrienders, all of these things are numbers that women can call for help. But nobody talks about men calling for help. So what I'm saying here now is that the ministry or the previous minister, Hanayo, she was saying for men, you can call these numbers as well. She was saying something to that effect. I think that is so important because men have no recourse. They don't know who to see. So there are cases like this where men get beaten up. And what do? It's crazy. So these are some numbers that I'm sharing here by Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat. They have Talian Kasih, My Care for COVID-19, Women's Affairs Organization, WAO. You can WhatsApp them as well. They also have befrienders. You can Skype them as well. So these are numbers that men, you can also call these numbers and they will help you out. You know? Yeah.
Awesome. You can just Google, right? Befrienders KL on top.
Yeah, you can also Google, yes.
All right. So we are running out of time, and Ilyas needs to continue his journey as well. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I think today, and also our viewers, thank you for dropping by. And let's acknowledge one of our viewers, Salim. Again, thank you so much, Salim, for dropping by. He said that keeping myself neutral since I am not in a relationship or / marriage, and learning from the best seafoods. Yeah, two of them are best seafoods. I'm also learning from them. Right. So, and a few other viewers, thank you so much for dropping by. And last words from you. What are your take around our topic today, and also you know, points that perhaps our viewers can take away from our conversation today? Let's start with Ilyas.
Well, there is who wears the pen, and also there's who washes the pants, right? So there's always two sides, lah. If you wear the pants, doesn't mean you are all the boss and everything, right? Because there's someone else who washes the pants for you. So there's always, I think, I don't know. I don't know about other people. I think we should talk a lot to our partners. And it's okay if you don't know. You're not supposed to know everything, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. For me, what I like to say is, what I like to ask Ilyas is, Ilyas, you are the sister.
Semua dah kahwin lah.
Tempat lagi.
I think you should go to Kota Belud. Ask Jacqueline to go to Kota Belud.
Advertise yourself lah here, Omar.
Yeah, just two things.
Joking, okay?
One is if you're not married, don't just jump into a marriage, you know, because the most wonderful position to be in is to be in love. But that's also the most vulnerable position, because when you're in love, you are irrational, right? It doesn't make sense. That's why you're in love. So understand what makes a marriage successful, you know, and these are based on values. And there's no right or wrong value. It's your values matching with your spouse's values, yeah? Whoever you choose. So yeah, understand those values. But if you're already in a marriage situation and you're in trouble, please reach out to those numbers that we shared earlier, because life is just not worth living, suffering, right? Yeah. And this goes for women as well, you know. But if you're not in that situation, you should really need to reevaluate this situation and look at what's really important in a marriage relationship. Is it control, or is it just keeping each other happy? You know, if you have this attitude of my job today is to contribute to her happiness, and for her job today is to contribute to my happiness. I mean, what could be better than that, right? So don't worry about control. Just look at how can you make the other person happy.
Yeah. And to echo on that, ladies, it's okay when your man say, I don't know, or this month I can't provide that much. look beyond those words, because the real story is not being spoken. So therefore, try to understand further, not jumping into our own head. Let's have a open and honest discussion around it. I mean you and your man. All right. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being in our point of view series. Some are regular here, and Salim say haha to you, Omar. Um, we'll have our session on a point of view series on Wednesday. Wednesday will be with Darren. The topic will be lesson from Jack Ma. We'll have another guest this time around, Shuza, also an author. So we'll see you on Wednesday. So thank you so much. We are signing off now.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Okay, good.
Bye.
Thank
How
you,
is it?
Jess. So you continue your journey.
How is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's like very
Yeah.
personalized. As usual lah, dengan you memang very personalized, very open.
Yeah. So I think that rubs off onto me, Elias, because when you open up like that, I'm also like, oh, okay, he's okay, I'm okay. You know, kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, thanks. Good luck with your proposal. Is it proposal?
It's a pitch. It's a pitch
It's a
today.
pitch.
Yeah, all the best.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye, guys. Bye.